Okay. So, Bismillah walhamdulillah wassalatu wassalamu ala Rasulillah wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam. Inshallah, we're going to do a lecture, inshallah, today focused on the topic of tawakkul. And then afterwards, inshallah, we'll have Q&A about the heart therapy book, introduction, and hadith number 1. The parts are not related, but they could be interesting for you if you have the time, inshallah, to join us for both. If not, at least the first part, inshallah, should be sufficient, bi'idhnillah, sufficiently short. That is going to be about 20 minutes or so, bi'idhnillah. So, when we're talking about tawakkul on Allah Azza wa Jal, we're talking about iman. That is, there is no, if you think about it, you cannot have iman without tawakkul, or tawakkul without iman. And one is obvious, like you cannot have tawakkul without iman. You can't trust Allah Azza wa Jal, and we'll explain what tawakkul means. You can't trust Allah, rely on Him, without actually believing in Him. That's true. But also it's the other way around. That is, if you believe in Allah, that belief in Allah, the full belief in Allah necessitates that you should have tawakkul on Him. So what does tawakkul mean? Tawakkul, as I translated in English here, means reliance or trust. Let's explain it. That is, when you need someone or need something, you look for what is going to fulfill your need. So if you are sick, what do you look for? You look for a doctor. If you want to build your home, what do you look for? An architect and a company. If you have a legal problem, what do you look for? You look for a lawyer. If you have a problem with your car, you look for a mechanic. Now, you don't understand how they're going to solve your problem. You don't know the details. They have the expertise. So what you tell them is, I trust you. I need you. I know that you have the tools that I need to solve my problem. Hey, solve my problem. So you rely on them. And you rely on them because you trust them. So reliance and trust, they go together. You can't rely on someone that you don't trust. So they go together. So reliance on Allah Azza wa Jal is to trust Him. And that requires that you believe in Him. And also that you rely on Him in fulfilling your needs. Now, why we talk about tawakkul today? Now, tawakkul is something that we need all the time, but especially in these circumstances that we find ourselves in, we need more of it. That is, we need more of our trust in Allah Azza wa Jal, and we need more reliance upon Him subhanahu wa ta'ala. See, as adversity, any adversity, economic or what have you, or a health adversity like the one that we're in at this moment, when it comes and overtakes a country, it exposes its weaknesses. Have you seen that? So you see, for instance, if you have a political dysfunction, it comes to the surface when there's adversity. More so, if there is a problem with healthcare, it comes to the surface, to the forefront, when you have an adversity like this one, more so than normal times. So it exposes deficiencies in societies or in countries. But it does the same thing with us. Whenever we are faced with an affliction, it exposes our weaknesses. In normal circumstances, we don't see it. But under affliction, under adversity, we begin to feel our shortcomings. We start looking for what? Who I can rely on. What do I believe in? Who can save me? We panic. We experience depression. We experience grief. Now, even in normal circumstances, we have those things. But when there is a stress, it exasperates. When there's a stress, it adds to our ordeal, let's say, or adds to our deficiency. It just exposes more of it. And so we find ourselves needing and asking the following questions. Who can I turn to? How can I restore stability and tranquility to my life? If I get sick, who will save me? If I die, what will happen to me? So all these questions need an answer. And if I don't have a reservoir of iman, if I don't have that reservoir of iman, I won't be able to answer those questions. In fact, I'll collapse under that pressure, that extra weight of there is the possibility that you're going to lose your job and not have enough money and be sick and lose your life and you won't be able to feed your family. That constant barrage of attacks, of whispers and uncertainties, I will collapse under it. So if I was suffering under normal circumstances because of depression or anxiety, under these stressful circumstances, I'll suffer even more and maybe collapse. That's why I will need to rediscover what it means to have iman and what it means to have tawakkul on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Just like someone, although this could be a silly example, but like someone who cannot walk, but you need a cane or you need crutches. So you need something to lean on, right? Something to help you to be able to continue moving forward. So what is this thing? The most helpful remedy that can take care of us this time is Allah Azza wa Jal, and trusting Him and relying on Him subhanahu wa ta'ala. That is tawakkul. And as we said, it is about our iman. So Allah Azza wa Jal says, وَعَلَى اللَّهِ فَتَوَكَّلُوا إِن كُنتُم مُؤْمِنِينَ. Have reliance upon Allah if you have iman. So if your iman is high, your tawakkul will be high. If we find that our tawakkul is weak, then our iman is weak. So how do I know that my tawakkul is weak? I panic and I'm afraid. And when I'm afraid and I panic and I worry so much about the future, so much that it's giving me headache and making me sick, I found nothing in me, nothing in my iman to answer these anxieties. That means that my tawakkul is weak. I don't trust Allah Azza wa Jal sufficiently. It doesn't mean that you're not going to be afraid when you hear scary news, the unpredictability of the future, and even the present. It doesn't mean that you're going to get scared, but it means that you face that anxiety with an answer that's coming from iman and based on iman. So when you have that answer, that means that your tawakkul is high. When you don't have that answer and you're looking left and right for help and support and you find none, and you don't turn to Allah Azza wa Jal, then we understand that our tawakkul is weak. So our tawakkul is tied to our iman, and our iman is tied to our tawakkul. How do I increase my tawakkul? By increasing my iman in general, by increasing my practice, by increasing my knowledge of who Allah Azza wa Jal is. This is how my iman increases. And you'll find that in Surah Al-Fatiha, we constantly ask Allah Azza wa Jal for assistance. When we say, إِيَّاكَ نَعْبُدُ وَإِيَّاكَ نَسْتَعِينَ, it is you alone that we worship, and it is you alone that we ask for assistance. That's why Surah Al-Fatiha is so special. That is why Allah Azza wa Jal, because of all the meanings that are in it, Allah Azza wa Jal asks us to keep repeating it every time we stand before Him subhanahu wa ta'ala, because it has the most important dua. Most important dua. One of the scholars have said, he said, I thought about what would be the most useful dua that I can make to Allah Azza wa Jal. What could it be? So he says, I didn't find anything more useful than asking Allah to assist me to worship Him well. And I found that dua to be in the Fatiha, وَإِيَّاكَ نَسْتَعِينَ. So that dua is in Al-Fatiha. So when we say وَإِيَّاكَ نَسْتَعِينَ, it is you alone that we ask for help. Why is it that we're asking Allah alone for help, meaning no one else, even though others can help me? Why is it that the Prophet ﷺ said, وَإِذَا سَأَلْتَ فَاسْأَلِ اللَّهِ وَإِذَا اسْتَعَنْتَ فَاسْتَعِنْ بِاللَّهِ. If you want to ask Allah. If you want to seek assistance, seek it from Allah Azza wa Jal. Why am I asking Allah alone and seeking assistance from Allah alone? There's a reason for that. Because if you ask somebody else, another human like you, even if they have more power, and your heart starts relying on them, it's fine to trust, but we starts relying on them, then your heart will going to be captivated, enslaved by your need to them. You'll be inferior to them. You'll be reliant on them. And part of your heart will be enslaved. And that ubudiyya that we talk about, that should be only for Allah Azza wa Jal, submission, that should be only for Allah Azza wa Jal, that part will be given to another human being. You'll feel submissive to them. You can see signs of that submission. If you need someone, let's say that they're giving you money, your employer, or somebody who's assisting you, and you really need them, you won't be able to tell them that they're wrong when they are wrong. You won't be able to speak the truth to them because you're afraid that you're going to anger them. And if they're angry, they'll withdraw their support. So that is part of your submission to them. So when you need someone, you're always submission, you're always reliant on them, and that reliance takes away from your reliance on Allah Azza wa Jal. So things in this world are always competing for our attention, competing for our reliance, competing for our heart. So if you have reliance on Allah, then you're not going to need anybody else. Heart-wise, you're not going to need anybody else. Even though after you rely on Allah Azza wa Jal completely, you'll still go to the doctor. It doesn't mean that you stop going to the doctor. You'll still go to the doctor and you'll still tell the doctor, I have this and that with me. And the doctor is going to give you a medicine. And you'll take that medicine and you'll go home and you'll take it. But you're not going to rely on that medicine. That medicine is simply the means, the way, right? Only the way, the channel by which the blessing of Allah is going to flow to you. That's it. But it's not the medicine that's going to cure you. It is Allah who cures you. And that's difficult to maintain, difficult at times, let's say, right, to distinguish between, oh, am I taking the medicine, trusting the medicine, or am I taking the medicine, trusting the Lord of the medicine, the creator of the medicine? Yes, the medicine has qualities in it. The medicine has chemicals in it that interact with things in your body and make you better by the will of Allah Azza wa Jal. But that is key, by the will of Allah. It acts by the will of Allah. And it can stop acting by the will of Allah. So everything that is happening because of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's why my reliance is not on the doctor. My reliance is not on the medicine. My reliance is not on the attorney or somebody who had promised to help me. I see them acting, yes, but behind them, Allah Azza wa Jal is moving them. Allah Azza wa Jal is directing them. Allah is guiding them. And if Allah wishes, they will stop. And if Allah wishes, they'll continue. One of the things that tawakkul will give you is complete reliance on Allah. And it will take any fear that you have towards or from humanity. So in the hadith, the Prophet ﷺ says, he says, and know if everyone on this earth, if all people on this earth unite to bring you a benefit, they will not be able to if Allah decides otherwise. And if all of them unite to harm you, they will not be able to do so if Allah decides otherwise. And I want you to understand here the tawakkul and the strength that this will give to you once you understand this. Allah here is not asking His slaves, His servants to be foolish. It doesn't mean that tawakkul means go out and fight your enemy without any weapons. No. The Prophet ﷺ did not do this. And we need to understand here the important balance between having tawakkul on Allah and taking the asbab. I'm not going to become a seeker of knowledge simply by wishing to become a seeker of knowledge, a knowledgeable person. Okay, the information is not going to simply enter my mind because I wish it to. I'm not going to have kids simply by wishing them without getting married. It's not going to happen. I'm not going to be able to farm my land if I don't buy the seeds and put them inside the land. It's not going to happen. If I don't water my land, no seeds are going to grow. So Allah has tied consequences to their means in this world, meaning that if I want the consequences, I need to follow the means. I need to follow the path. But still at the same time, observing and believing that no plant is going to come out of this earth, no child, I will have no child, I will have no health and cure from a disease unless Allah decides it. So here, no one is going to fight any battle without taking precautions. The Prophet ﷺ used to do this. He would have an armor, he would have a weapon, he'd defend himself, he will plan for the battle. But once he does this, what does he do? He supplicates to Allah Azza wa Jal as if he didn't do anything. So in the battle of Badr, what did the Prophet ﷺ do? He planned for everything, strategy and this and that. But then the whole night, he ﷺ was praying to Allah, Ya Allah, if these people will be defeated, you're not going to be worshipped on the face of this earth. Repeatedly, repeatedly, repeatedly. That's why they say, your tawakkul on Allah, after you do all the asbab, all the means, will be as if you have done nothing. As if you're praying to Allah to cure you, as if you did not take any medicine, or no surgery is scheduled, or the doctor is not good. It's not going to be that. but it's your reliance and your trust is on Allah Azza wa Jal. So going back to that hadith when he says, if all people on this earth decide to benefit you, they won't be able to. Imagine how many people on this earth or in your neighborhood, if you want to just, bring it down to an observable scale. How many people live in your neighborhood or in your city? It could be hundreds or thousands, it could be millions. It says if all of them decide that they're going to buy you something, they won't be able to unless Allah decides. Or if all of them decide that tomorrow, God forbid, Allah forbid, that they want to kill you, they won't be able to. Imagine if you have that belief in your heart. Who do you trust? Who do you pray to? Who would you be afraid of? Who would you be hopeful of? It's Allah Azza wa Jal. You would look at people as what? Nothing. Because Allah Azza wa Jal is behind what they're doing. That is the kind of tawakkul that we need all the time, and we need in these times specifically. إِيَّاكَ نَسْتَعِينُ. We need help from you. Allah Azza wa Jal says, وَمَن يَتَوَكَّلْ عَلَى اللَّهِ فَهُوَ حَسْبُهُ. If you have tawakkul on Allah, He will suffice you. He will be enough for you. That meaning you will not need anything or anyone else beyond Him. If you need something, He'll bring it to you. He'll facilitate. But initially, inside, you will be sufficed. You'll be complete. You won't feel that you're afraid. You will not feel worried. Why? Because you are trusting that one who has everything. The one who has everything. Why does tawakkul on Allah, especially in these circumstances, help? Because when you trust Him, you're trusting the one who has all power. More power than all the experts. More power than all the people who are working on a vaccine. More power than everyone who is, all the economists. Has all power. And He knows the future more than anyone else. And He knows what's going to happen in it. And He is the one who can protect you. I can put on a mask. I can wash my hands. I can distance myself from other people so they don't infect me. Or if I am sick, don't infect them. I'm doing all these things. But I realize that if Allah wants, I can become sick. Or if Allah wants, I could be exposed and not become sick. Or I could carry the virus, but it cannot harm me. What I want to say here is not to become reckless, but to say that it's not simply what I'm doing. There is someone who is above all of this, Allah Azza wa Jal. So if I hear a piece of bad news or a bad forecast, or the economy is not going to open until, will they hire me or not? Will I get my job back or not? Will I get my benefits or not? Will I be able to feed my kids or not? I can either surrender to this onslaught of bad news, and it's going to cause me so much stress and anxiety, and it's going to eat away at my tawakkul and trust in Allah Azza wa Jal. Or I can push back and say, وَمَا مِن دَابَّةٍ فِي الْأَرْضِ إِلَّا عَلَى اللَّهِ رِزْقُهَا. There is no living creature on this earth except that its provision is guaranteed by Allah. I can say that, which is in the Quran, which is a promise from Allah, that every provision for every living being is guaranteed by Allah. And I'll say that, I'll trust Him subhanahu wa ta'ala, and Allah will provide. I'll do my best. I'll work, I'll look for a job, I'll do this and I'll do that. But I know that Allah Azza wa Jal will cover that area that I cannot control. Will take care of that area that is beyond my means. So I don't have to worry anymore. The only thing that I need to do is what? Just take care of what I can do. That's it. I can't worry about tomorrow because tomorrow is not in my hands. I can plan. And subhanAllah, your plans could materialize or maybe they won't. But I should recognize that I don't control tomorrow. And if I don't control tomorrow, I will not worry about tomorrow. Why worry about something that it may happen unlike what I'm worried about? I'm worried that it's going to be terrible tomorrow. And I realize that Allah decided otherwise. Why worry about it? And if it's going to be a trying time, a difficult time, then I know that if I trust Him, remember that ayah, وَمَن يَتَوَكَّلْ عَلَى اللَّهِ فَهُوَ حَسْبُهُ. The one who relies on Allah, Allah will be enough for him. I know that Allah will be enough for me. Enough for me in what way? In every possible conceivable way. That is, if tomorrow times are going to be harder and I need to be more patient and I trust Allah, He'll make me more patient. If my body needs to be stronger and I trust Allah, really trust him, my body will be stronger. If I need more income tomorrow and I really trust Allah Azza wa Jal, he will give me the income that I need because he promised that he will do that. So I give my full trust to Allah Azza wa Jal, more than I trust a good working government, more than I trust a good doctor. See, once the doctor says, if you are sick, if we are sick, and the doctor, a good doctor, says, I've accepted you as my patient and we can treat your illness, don't worry, you'll feel complete relief. Alhamdulillah. Now I've gotten in, the doctor is good, the treatment is there, no need to worry anymore. But it's not possible, and it shouldn't be, that I trust this doctor more than the creator of that doctor. That doctor only knows what he knows or she knows, and they can do what they can do only because of Allah. So I end up trusting that doctor more than Allah Azza wa Jal. And Allah has the cure of every disease, known and unknown, with a known treatment and unknown treatment. So I trust this doctor more than I trust Allah Azza wa Jal. It can't be. I trust my employer. He calls me and he says, we always have a job for you. I say, Alhamdulillah. And it's good news. That is not a bad news. But he said, Alhamdulillah. And you feel secure. But you don't feel as secure with Allah's promise when he says, we have the rizq ready for you. So I trust a man, a person, more than I trust the creator of this person. And this person, not to make you anxious, but this person, he could change his mind later, right? He could die later. He could lose his business later. So I'm trusting this person with all the possibilities, the negative possibilities. But I don't trust Allah Azza wa Jal, and there are no negative possibilities at all. That's why the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said, he says, if you only trust Allah, rely on him, have tawakkul on him like the birds, he will give you like he gives the birds. They leave their nests in the morning hungry and they come back late afternoon full. Now, where do the birds work? Who employs them? What benefits do they have? They don't have any of that. What do they have? They have tawakkul on Allah Azza wa Jal. And again, please, it doesn't mean you should quit your job. It doesn't mean you should stop planning. It doesn't mean you should quit school. It doesn't mean any of that. Plan. Because the birds, what do? They leave. They leave the nest. They fly out. What are they looking for? Food. So there is this effort that they put out. But who guarantees that they will find that food? No guarantees. Oh no, there is. Where's that guarantee? Allah has guaranteed it. And based on that guarantee which Allah had instilled in them, they have that fitrah in them. And we have it in us if we just wake up and we read the book of Allah. Because of that fitrah in them, they just fly because they believe that Allah provides for them. And they find the food and they come back full. So if you trust Allah, He'll be enough for you. He'll provide for you. He'll protect you. He will guide you. He'll take away your pain. He will bring you out of darkness into the light. He will give you whatever you want. Let's just put it at that. If you trust Allah and fully rely on Him and increase this trust in Him, He will give you whatever you want, whatever benefits you. Of course, because if you want something that harms you, Allah shouldn't give it to you. Just like a doctor. He said, I want to eat this and I want to drink that. He said, this is not good for you. I'm not giving it to you. So if Allah knows something is bad for you, He's not going to give it to you. But if something is good for you and you need it and you trust Him, Allah is sufficient for you. So we've reached 7 o'clock, inshallah. I just want to give time for the Q&A for the heart therapy. So this is what we said, inshallah, we'll be doing. First part is going to be a lecture. So we finish this, alhamdulillah. And the next part, inshallah, will be question and answer based on the Heart Therapy Book Club, inshallah. So if you're not in that book club, you can still stay. This is still going to be open, inshallah. We'll go live as long as Instagram allows us. Yeah, inshallah. The sister wants to take over.
Assalamu alaikum, Shaykh.
Alaikum assalam.
First of all of us sisters would like to express our appreciation for we're going to have like 41 weeks with you.
Inshallah.
It's going to be like nearly 1 year.
Inshallah.
Inshallah. Then, so I'm going to read to you the first chapter of the book, chapter of introduction. We have total of 18 questions. So we have clustered it to 8.
Yeah.
So I'm going to read the first question, the first cluster, yeah?
Yeah.
How do we know that we are following the path of Quran and Sunnah? Because sometimes I wonder whether certain current practices like meditation, affirmation, how does one know that he has transgressed? Question number two, how do we know that we are a person who hold firmly to the rope of Allah? Question number 18, in our pursuit of soul purification, is it permissible if one learn about the power of subconscious mind and NLP? Do this contradict from the teaching of Quran and Sunnah? Could we adopt any of current way of spiritual other than Islamic way? How does one know certain seeming Islamic but actually is not? How can we differentiate as a layman?
Okay, inshallah. So I hope you have heard the questions. So all these questions are talking basically about the same thing. That is, if I am a person who wants to follow the book of Allah and the Sunnah of His Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, but there are other practices that are imported from other areas, whether it's secular areas or religious areas, maybe. Some were mentioned here, like meditation, affirmation, subconscious, NLP, other practices imported from outside. So how do I know if these practices are valid or invalid? How do I know that I'm still on, holding on to the rope of Allah, following whatever Allah Azza wa Jal likes? And this is a really a very important question. Maybe one of the most answering today. And I think the introduction does allude to it. That is the path of soul purification, at-tazkiyah in Islam, according to the book of Allah and the Sunnah of His Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam in Islam, is complete and it's from Allah Azza wa Jal, and so it knows us very well. Any other suggestion, any other method that comes elsewhere from somewhere else doesn't have the same qualities. So first, it's not from Allah Azza wa Jal, so it is fallible, mistakes, and it has, by necessity, by definition, because it is human effort, it will make mistakes. And it's not complete, so it could treat one area, but not everything else. All knows, but it doesn't know us very well. So when you go somewhere else, you run the risk of what? Of taking something that contradicts the book of Allah and the Sunnah without knowing it. So especially if you are not really learned, if you don't know the path of tazkiyah in detail, and you don't know about the background of this other path in detail, where does it come from, its origins, you're going to end up mixing things together, and you're going to end up importing bad practices and maybe even bad beliefs into your life, and there will be a contradiction in your life. So the other path, why is it a problem? Because the foundations that it was built on are human foundations, and not only human foundations that are built on mostly secular materialist thought. It's not religious, it's definitely not Islamic, so it doesn't understand, and its understanding of the human soul is flawed, its understanding of the human psyche is flawed, and it's materialistic and secular, and most of the time it's biased towards Western lifestyle and Western experiences and Western science. So that doesn't always mesh well with what we believe. So take, for instance, something like meditation. Like if you meditate, meditation can have some positive effects. Yes, it can. But what meditation does is that it simply asks you to be still, to empty your mind, to breathe, and so on. Now, first of all, meditation is imported from where? Mostly it's coming from Buddhists' backgrounds. But even if you extract it from the Buddhist religion, what meditation is asking you to do is simply empty your mind. The problem is that when you empty your mind, what do you fill it with? Because your mind is never empty. It must have something. It must think. It must cogitate. So if you take something out, you must put something in. In Islam, you have meditation plus. I'm calling it meditation in quotation marks. Meditation plus, because what Salah does, which is the best type, let's call it, for now, meditation. It's the best type of meditation. Why? Because Salah does this. It empties the heart and mind of negative thoughts, negative influences, but replaces that with positive thoughts and positive influences. And it disciplines both heart, mind, and body at the same time. So when you go to meditation, you're going to something that is inferior. And if you just simply empty the mind, you don't know what comes in. Meditation in itself is not virtuous. I've said that to people in another occasion. Meditation is not virtuous. You can meditate to be a better assassin, isn't it? You can meditate to be a better killer. Meditation is not valuable. It's not virtuous. It's value free. You can use it for whatever you want. But salah is different. Fasting is different. Zakah is different. Dhikr of Allah is different. So affirmation, that's another one. If you say, for instance, if I understand affirmation right, if in the morning or whenever you just repeat positive words to yourself, positive statements to yourself, I'm smart enough, I'm intelligent enough, I can do this, I'm confident, and this and that. Well, you're really self-centered when you do that. So I'm saying it may work, it may give you some confidence. But the Islamic alternative is much better. When you affirm, you're just simply refocusing yourself on yourself. Yeah? I am, right? But when you pray to Allah Azza wa Jal, you get that and more. So when you say, if I can confidence, Ya Allah, give me confidence. Now you're asking for confidence and you know that you want it. And asking for something means also to try to do it. So you say, Allah, give me confidence. So you're going to try to be confident, but also you're asking Allah to give you something. And so you brought Allah closer to you. And you brought yourself closer to Allah. So Allah is assisting you. And when you know Allah is assisting you, you'll have greater confidence than if you just simply rely on yourself. I'm smart enough. Okay? Maybe, perhaps with too many affirmations, you could become arrogant. That's a possibility. But when you ask Allah, you're never arrogant. You say, Ya Allah, make me confident. Ya Allah, make me smart. Ya Allah, give me skillful. Give me that skill or make me skillful. You know that you're always reliant on Him. So that's why it is special. So that's about affirmation. The same thing goes for NLP and subconscious or the unconscious, because all these are theories and all these are speculations, and their connection to try to tie how you behave to your subconscious is simply guesswork. It's simply, and trying to reform you or fix you based on this guesswork is also sometimes dangerous, because they don't know what they're doing. They're experimenting. Now, some of what they're saying could be useful. So if you go, or if you've gone through that path and found some of it to be useful, we say, yes, definitely. Just like any human being giving you advice, some of that advice is going to be useful, especially if that human being is wise. But if you take everything that they're saying, they'll tell you and it will give you the wrong information. They must give you something wrong. The only infallible source that we have is the Book of Allah and what the Prophet ﷺ has said. So I do not recommend you go into other practices and other paths of purification, but rather try to master as much as you can and know in as much detail as you can what Allah said about the soul and the heart. How the Prophet ﷺ recommended that we fix our hearts and fix our problems. Know it in detail. When you know it in detail, then you will be ready, maybe, to examine other paths and discover what is right and what is wrong about them. And if you're confused about specific things, always ask. So as a layperson, just like in fiqh, just like in aqidah, you say, I don't know, this is right or this is wrong. I need to ask the shaykh. It's the same thing with suluk. Walking to Allah Azza wa Jal, or a-raqa'iq, purifying the heart. When you're walking to Allah, you discover something you're not sure about. So you go and ask a shaykh, is this right or is this wrong? And then hopefully they'll be able to answer your question. So in summary, I don't recommend any other path, even if there's some partial benefit in it, because with that benefit is going to be harm. Focus on what Allah Azza wa Jal is revealed, because it should be enough, inshallah, for us.
Jazakallah Shaykh. The second question, cluster. What is the best remedy to make us love one another like the Prophet and his companions? Their love and bond were so strong. Even Abdurrahman was offered a wife. How to be like them? How does a mother nurture not loving the dunya and loving death for her children? how are we supposed, based on Rasulullah SAW and companions, educate this to our children?
Inshallah. So the second cluster is about love. You know, how do we nurture love in ourselves, and also how do we nurture in our children love? Love for Allah, love for this world, not love for this world, but love for the hereafter. So we're talking about love. So how do we do that? And of course, all of these stations, the station of tawakkul, the station of loving Allah Azza wa Jal, this is all tied to Iman. So it is hard for me as a person to turn away from this world towards the hereafter if I have love for this dunya. So if I really love money and love fame and love recognition and love beautiful things in this world, and all of us have to one part or to one degree or another love for these things. If I love these things but immensely, it's hard for me to go and love the hereafter or give up these things for the sake of the hereafter. So it all goes back to increasing one's Iman through, you know, knowledge and practice. So if you know more and you practice more, it's not enough that you only know. And that's what is important about this book club, inshallah. It's not enough that you know. It's okay that I know, but what do I do? What am I going to do with what I know? What am I doing with it? So you know and you practice. And this practice creates this like loop. This is your knowledge. This is what your practice. And if you practice, it creates a loop like this. And so your practice increases your knowledge, and your knowledge goes to increase your practice, and it keeps going in a circle like this. So the more that you practice, the more that you will know and understand what you've just memorized and what you have read. So we need to practice, we need to know, and when we do this, you'll find that we'll start shifting away from this dunya closer to the hereafter. This is what our Islamic practice, our salah, our fasting, our zakah, each one of them does that. Moves us away from this world and closer to the hereafter. Then I will also try to do extra, the recommended acts, to bring me closer to the hereafter. So more fasting, more sadaqah, more salah. I'll try also to read and this is very useful, to read the life of the previous predecessors, beginning of course with the best, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, but also the companions and the second generation and third generation, and how they lived, and believing that they are my example and living a life like theirs. You'll find that when you do that, your love for Allah will increase. And when your love for Allah increases, and you know that you also are supposed to love the believers as well for your love to be true, then your love for the believers will increase. So it is easy then to give, as the sister has expressed in the question, half of your wealth to a brother of yours, because you love him and you love Allah more than the money that you have. That's the only way. But as long as we love money more than our brothers and sisters, it'd be impossible to do this. So how do I do this? I need to start shifting my love from this dunya to the akhirah. And it has to happen with what? Knowledge and practice. Now, how do I channel this to my children? First of all is by example. I have to be the kind of person who's doing this, the kind of person who's talking about it, the kind of person who's pushing them gently, maybe not pushing them, guiding them, leading them towards that life. That is not the most important thing for me, is for them to be successful at school. That is important, but not successful at their salah or successful at their Quran. Not that they understand their material, math and science and their subjects, but they don't understand the Quran. I don't only want them to memorize the Quran, I want them to understand the Quran. I want them to tell me, how does this ayah affect them? How does it translate into their life? How can they apply it? How is Allah the most important thing in their life? How is it that the Prophet ﷺ is the best example? I want them to talk about that. I want them to feel it. I will tell them that the akhirah is a lot better than this dunya. Why? Because of everything that Allah has put in the akhirah for us. If I tell them this at a young age, if I practice it at a young age, if they see me talking about it at a young age, I have a chance, inshallah, in transmitting that to them. And with all of that, inshallah, making dua for them. So being an example, teaching these things, which is educating them and making dua for them, hopefully, inshallah, that will help them. Inshallah.
MashaAllah, beautiful. Okay, Shaykh, the third cluster is, how does one know that she has attained taqwa? How do we know that we have achieved not loving the dunya and not hating the death? How can I train myself to achieve ihsan? And how do I teach to my children? Is there any other resources, books that I could consider to read pertaining this matter?
Right. Now, you're not going to reach a stage where you know, I have reached taqwa. I'm there. That is never going to happen. But you'll notice that you have greater taqwa. And you will know that when you avoid the haram, when you rush to Allah's obedience, when Allah tells you to do something and you rush to do it, when Allah says to stop doing something and you immediately stop, you'll know that you have greater taqwa than perhaps previously. But that you have taqwa, that is never going to happen. Because once you have it, well, next day your iman is going to be weaker. It has to happen. So you're going to need to work on your iman to increase it again. So no one finally possesses taqwa. So taqwa is always a work in progress. And in fact, if you are a person who starts believing that I am a muttaqi, then maybe, right, we need to reconsider our assessment of taqwa. Because the person who is a muttaqi of Allah is always afraid of Allah Azza wa Jal. Not terrified in a way that he runs away from Allah or he feels frustrated and depressed, no. But terrified in a way where he thinks or she thinks, maybe I did not do enough. Maybe I should be doing better. Maybe that thing I said wasn't right. Maybe that look that I gave that person wasn't right. Maybe I should ask Allah for forgiveness. So you're not going to feel complete. And it would be the wrong feeling to feel complete. When you feel complete, you have reached it, then you actually have misunderstood the path, misunderstood what taqwa means. Taqwa is always a work on progress, always improving yourself. So this is what it means. So you're always going to be working on it. How do we know that we have achieved not loving the dunya and not hating death? Again, it's the same question. And you're never going to be reach that level. What you will do is you'll be always working towards it. But you'll discover improvements. And that's what you want to notice, inshallah, that I'm not panting after the dunya anymore like I used to before. You'll notice, for instance, before I used to only care about the latest fashion, the latest releases, the latest, shoes, bags, whatever, right? The biggest house. Now I don't care about that anymore. Now I care more about how much I know about Allah, how much I read about Allah, about how much I worshipped Allah. I care more about this now than previously. Then you know you made some progress. So you can notice progress, but you can reach a level where you can say, now I love death, now I hate the dunya. That is difficult, right? Because as I said, you could reach a level, but then you will slip back. You have to, and it'll keep working on it. But will be able to notice improvements, and these improvements are in your practice and in your heart. What is your heart thinking about all the time? What makes your heart happy? What is your body busy with? What are you looking forward to? If it's only dunya, then you know that dunya is what? Our Mecca, meaning this is the only thing that we care about. But if now we're starting to shift away from the dunya to the hereafter, and the hereafter and things related to it are also making me happy. So I'm happy when I finished reading the Quran. I'm happy when I give sadaqah. I'm happy when I finished fasting. I'm happy when I finished reading an Islamic book, or when I knew more about Allah, or when I knew more about the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. These things are making me happy. Then I discover, oh yes, I'm making improvements, alhamdulillah. It's important to know these and thank Allah for them and ask Allah for more of them. So that's how you'll know, inshallah, that you made improvements. How you can train yourself to achieve ihsan. So, one dua of the Prophet ﷺ that he told Mu'adh to repeat often, Allahumma inni ala dhikrika wa shukrika wa husni ibadatik. So Allah assist me to remember you, inni ala dhikrika wa shukrika, to thank you and to worship you with ihsan. So that dua is something to keep in mind. After each salah, to keep making this dua, because you want to reach the level of ihsan. And to try, because this could be a lecture on its own, how do you reach the level of ihsan? you keep trying to up your ibadah. So you keep trying to do your salah better, and your fasting better, and your zakah better, and to monitor your heart as you're doing it, and also to improve your physical performance of it. And then afterwards, keep asking Allah Azza wa Jal to give you more and more of the ability to perform a ibadah at a better level. And to try, when you're doing this ibadah, to imagine Allah watching you as you're doing it. Okay, that's the first level of ihsan. So when you're giving this sadaqah, or you're listening, or you're reading a book, or you're giving advice, you're praying, think of Allah watching you. That will help you, inshaAllah, elevate your ibadah to the next level. How do you teach your children? As we said with the other question, it's by example and by talking about it and by recommending it, inshallah. Is there any further resources and books? If you have it translated into your languages, whether it's English or any other language, Malaysian or whatever, look for the books of Ibn al-Qayyim. Okay, books of Ibn al-Qayyim, and the books of Ibn al-Jawzi, and the books of Ibn Rajab al-Hanbali. Okay, so the books of, I'll repeat, the books of Ibn al-Qayyim, these are very valuable, and the books of Ibn al-Jawzi are also very valuable. They're all about purification and the heart and loving Allah and staying away from the dunya. So Ibn al-Qayyim, Ibn al-Jawzi, and Ibn Rajab al-Hanbali. So these three I would recommend highly. Whenever you find that your heart is hard, or you want something to soften your heart, bring you closer to Allah, take you away from the clutches of this world and bring you back to the hereafter, read these books. That will be, inshallah, you'll find the difference, inshallah. Now.
MashaAllah, Jazakallah. Okay, the next cluster. How does one share with others that what she had benefited from any hadith and would like to share to encourage but avoid from feeling that I am showing off? Also, how do I know that if I cross boundary? How can we know that we do not have arrogance? I read somewhere that Allah will give more ilm if I implement what I learn. Is there any method that companion did, probably their method in ensuring that they implement what they learn?
Okay. So the first question, and that's also another important one and a common one. If I know something to be right and I want to share it with others, how can I share it? Because sometimes when you share these things, you feel awkward. Maybe I'm preaching, maybe I'm arrogant, maybe I'm showing off, maybe. So maybe I shouldn't say anything. Well, that would be a tragedy. It really would be a tragedy if all of us who had felt that maybe there's a possibility that our intention may not be right, we're going to stop teaching and stop preaching and stop advising, then all of us will stop. Because every single person who speaks, and I'm telling you, right, every single person who gives advice will have a feeling that maybe this is not for Allah. And maybe at times, not every time that they're giving advice and giving a talk, it is for Allah. It is. Because it's hard. Just like, is it true that every time we pray, we're praying for Allah? It is every time I give sadaqah, every time was for Allah. Every time I fasted, every time it was for Allah. Impossible. Sometimes, many times, inshallah, it was. Sometimes, maybe it was for somebody else. Maybe I didn't pay attention. Maybe. So the thing here that it is a struggle, but we need to go the struggle and we need to triumph, inshallah. Otherwise, no one will speak any word of good. Only people, preaching the worst and speaking evil will be talking, because all of us are afraid. We shouldn't be afraid. So what do? It says, if I know something to be right, share it. If I'm afraid that it's not for Allah's sake, ask yourself, why are you doing this? Are you doing this because you want to let people know that you know? Say, A'udhu Billah from that. Ya Allah, take away that intention from me. I simply want to tell them something that could help them. So ask yourself, what is the benefit that I will get if they simply know that I know? Nothing. It's just worldly benefit. And maybe they'll think that I'm being arrogant, as the questioner said. And maybe they'll think that I'm arrogant and they'll hate me because of what I said. So there is a risk. So why am I showing off to try to please them and they could hate me? Is there a better intention? I want Allah to reward me for it, to give me something good for this particular thing. to benefit me. So this thing will stay with me when I meet him. So I'm doing it for that. And push yourself and pray and do it. And don't worry about the whispers of the shaitan after this. Don't worry about the whispers of the shaitan. So every time, just ask yourself, why am I doing it? Let it be for Allah. Ya Allah, this is for your sake. Help me that it be for your sake, and do it. And with practice, inshallah, it'll become easier. It's not going to become easy. Okay? Because Thawri, and Thawri is a scholar, is an Islamic scholar, is saying, I have found nothing more difficult than trying to manage my intention. So don't think that you and I are going to find it easy. We need to struggle, but even that struggle, Allah rewards you for it. Because you're fighting with the shaitan, right? Just like with haram. Shaitan tells you, let's do this haram. You say, no, I'm not. And you're fighting with the shaitan and you win. Allah rewards you for it. So when you're struggling with your intention, by the way, and I want everybody who's struggling with their intention, maybe each one of us, by the way, will have a particular illness. Maybe I am prone to arrogance more. Maybe I'm prone to envy more. Maybe I'm prone to suspicion more. Just naturally, this is the way that I am. And I'm always struggling and fighting with that. Your struggle with it is something that Allah loves. You with me? So struggling with that is actually a good sign, not a bad sign. So if you're fighting with that intention, you're doing a good thing. So fight with the shaitan, fight with those whispers, and say the good thing that you are supposed to say. Don't worry about showing off, inshallah.
So basically, just keep doing the sharing.
Yeah, absolutely. Keep sharing and keep giving the good news and keep, inshallah, doing all the good things that you're going to do, and don't stop. Fight over the shaitan. The one here about, inshallah, there's just a here about arrogance. How do I know if we don't have arrogance? There'll be a chapter, inshallah, in the book about arrogance. The live stream.
Sorry, Shaykh?
Instagram has only 10 more seconds left.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Shaykh, it's gonna be like near to your breaking fast as well, right?
Yeah. Inshallah, it's gonna end now.
Should we stop now or continue later? How do you plan, Shaykh?
Yes, yeah. So Instagram stopped now. So yeah, I think inshallah, yeah, because even Instagram stopped, so it's a great time to stop now. We can continue later, inshallah. Yeah.
Inshallah, yeah, it's nearing to your breaking time as well, fasting. Okay, so we're gonna discuss another time so that we can continue this, Shaykh.
Inshallah, absolutely. We can do it, inshallah. You can discuss with the sister and see what would be the best time, inshallah, to do it.
Okay, jazakumullah to you and Sis Nisa.
And jazakumullah khaira for your help, inshallah. And this is good, inshallah. You know, I like to hear their questions, and I hope, inshallah, the more the better, inshallah. That would be good, inshallah.
All right. So I won't keep it for your preparation for breaking fast. So on behalf of book sisters, Barakallahu fikum, Jazakallahu khairan. Lots of du'as of sisters have been answered through this book club. So the only thing is that we could ask for is that Allah ya matin ya qawi, give us strength to, as you mentioned in your welcome note, that we hope that we're going to be steadfast, istiqamah until the end of the book club.
Absolutely.
So at the end of the day, we hope that, or throughout the journey, we're going to attain Qalbun Saleem. As you mentioned, we don't know whether we have reached there yet. So basically, we're just going to keep striving until death comes, inshallah.
Exactly. Bi-idhnillah, inshallah. May Allah give you the strength to continue. And may Allah give everyone who's helping and assisting the same strength, and give everybody the strength to keep reading and keep learning, inshallah. And I am here. As long as you guys are here, inshallah, if Allah gives us the extends our life and gives us the strength, I'll be here, inshallah, with you.
May Allah put barakah in your 2 days fasting and all of your days. Jazakumullahu khairan. Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, Shaykh.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.